I'm live on the day 7 of my gift book read from the book A New Earth, Creating a Better Life by Eckhart Tolle. I would make a few announcements. We had this beautiful session today with people who are ready and willing to join Philosopher Stone Book Club. This club is meant to be a platform for like-minded people, a very quality platform for seekers who are willing to learn and add more in their life through the books that I'm going to be picking up, some of the best-selling books. And these books are going to be some of those most conscious wisdom of consciousness, coming from different dimensions and different spirit beings channeled through them. It's going to be a totally different energy, and I'm so happy that we had this beautiful energy with the kind of people they were on board today and the kind of conversations that we had. I already begin to feel that the kind of the vision that I had with this platform is beginning to fulfill, and it's time for more and more people to be awakened to this kind of content, so that there is a bigger shift. I had been sharing this example with them today, that Mahatma Gandhi gave this beautiful term, the quote that be the change you see in the world. And since we are going through this changing times, the change can only happen, and the change doesn't mean that we're trying to shift the wrong things in the world. We're trying to change people around us. The change begins to happen when we begin to change something in us, and automatically our surrounding begins to change. And Mahatma Gandhi actually lived that sentence in his book. If anyone has read his book, My Experiments with the Truth, he lived that phrase, that term, and that's the kind of thing. And I always wish that as the movement of freedom begin in the city of Ahmedabad, we are connecting with people all across India, and some NRIs are also wishing to join this platform. But with all of that, if something can begin from the city of Ahmedabad, that was a place where the inception, the conception of the Dandi March and a lot of other things were initiated. We could be that means to bring that bigger shift in many parts of the world, or at least in our own families and our own life. So I begin with the chapter, and before I forget, I would like to announce that we are beginning the Philosopher's Stone Book Club from next Sunday. And if you wish to be part of this, if you find the content that I'm reading here interesting, if you feel that you are a seeker and a wanderer and the one who always had existential questions towards life, and you're committed to yourself, and you would honor the kind of platform that we're creating here, then do get in touch, and we'll discuss further. So I begin by starting with a recap of what we did yesterday. It was a beautiful chapter after conscious parenting, and that was about recognizing child. And in that we kind of read the part where Eckhart Tolle talks about the love is to recognize yourself and others, and how with the social conditioning and programming, we are so used to seeing things in the form, in the physical structure, that we miss out on being. And when we are not being, the child feels missed out, the child feels insufficient, and the child ends up creating a lot of resentments as it's growing, or when it is grown. Going from that, Today we're going to be reading a very interesting chapter, and it's titled Hello Nina ji, glad to see you again. It's named Villain, Victim and Love, and let's see what this chapter holds. Some egos, if they cannot get praise or admiration, will settle for other forms of attention and play a role to elicit them. If they cannot get positive attention, they may seek negative attention instead. For example, by provoking a negative reaction in someone else. Some children already do that too. They misbehave to get attention. The playing of negative roles become particularly pronounced whenever the ego is magnified by an active pain body. That is to say, emotional pain from the past that wants to renew itself through experiencing more pain. Some egos perpetrate crimes in search for fame. They seek attention through notorious and other people's condemnation. Please tell me that I exist. So basically, Eckhart Tolle here is trying to say that sometimes, when people behave in a negative manner, they're basically seeking a recognition that through positive or negative way, just show me, just prove to me that you can see me, you can notice me, you recognize me, that I exist, I am here on the planet. So they seek attention through notoriety and other people's condemnation, and they say, please tell me that I exist and other people and that I'm not insignificant. They seem to say such pathological forms of ego are only more extreme versions of normal egos. A very common role is the one of victim. And the form of attention it seeks is sympathy or pity or others' interest in my problems. Me and my story. Seeing someone as victim is an element in many egoic patterns such as complaining, being offended, outraged, and so on. Of course, once I am identified with a story in which I assigned myself the role of victim, I don't want it to end. And so, as every therapist knows, the ego does not want to end its problems because they are part of its identity. If no one will listen to my sad story, I can tell it to myself in my head over and over again and feel sorry for myself, and so have an identity as someone who's being treated unfairly by life or other people, fate or God. It's so relevant, it's so exact, and it's so beautiful. We many times something happens to us, and that specific event and the thought keep going round and round and round in our mind. We just can't let go of that thought, and that becomes a story. People say, move on, let go, but somewhere we are not able to let this part go, and sometimes we really feel suffocated, but we don't know what to do to let this go. And there may be ways that exist on the planet to let this go, but the first step here is to recognize that this pattern of repeating thought patterns, of going through the same incident, the same experience that gave you pain or made you suffer through thing, and this is where you putting yourself into the victim mode. I think first let's be aware that this is not you, this is not your being, this is the doing of the ego. And if only we rise above the ego is where the solution lies. I tell many times to a lot of people during my workshops, during personal interactions with them, is that in the corporate world, in the creative world, There is a saying that says that if you want to find a solution or want to look at a bigger picture, you think outside the box. Now this is exactly the scene even in life. In situations like this, only if we rise above that phase, that problem, is where we will see the exact picture. But most importantly, we will meet our own self, the part that is who we are, and not the ego, the false identity. Now let's go further. It gives definition to my self-image, makes me into someone that it is all that matters to the ego. In the early stages of many so-called romantic relationships, now this is going to be very important and might connect to so many within or and the surrounding. And we may be able to identify that, how relationships function. So in many early stages of so-called romantic relationships, role playing is quite common in order to attract and keep whoever is perceived by the ego as the one who is going to make me happy, make me feel special, and fulfill all my needs. I'll play who you want me to be, and you will play who I want you to be. That's the unspoken and conscious agreement. However, role playing is hard work, and so those roles cannot be sustained indefinitely, especially once you start living together. When those roles slip, what do you see? Unfortunately, in most cases, when those roles slip, what do you see? In the most cases, not yet the true essence of that being, but that which covers up the true essence of the raw ego divested of its roles, which with its pain body and its thwarted wanting, which now turns into anger, most likely directed at the spouse or partner for having failed to remove the underlying fear and sense of lack that is an intrinsic part of the egoic sense of self. What is commonly called falling in love is in most cases an intensification of egoic wanting and needing. You become addicted to another person, or rather to your image of that person. It has nothing to do with true love, which contains no wanting whatsoever. The Spanish language is most honest in regards to conventional notions of love. I hope I'm saying it right. Te quiero means I want you, as well as I love you. And the other expression of I love you is te amo, which does not have this ambiguity, is rarely used, perhaps because true love is just as rare. It's an amazing chapter with lot of depth and a lot of clarity about where we remain stuck in small life situations, and very small, tiny, simple wisdom or a word can just take us out of it. And that is the kind of platform Philosopher's Stone Book Club is meant to create. So if you're looking for this kind of wisdom and that kind of transformation, this is the platform. The next chapter that we're going to be reading tomorrow is again very beautiful chapter. It says happiness as role versus true happiness. I think in the last few reads, I have kind of cleared and read the part on Eckhart Tolle, how he defines the word role playing as parent, as partner, and now we'll get to the part where happiness is defined as role versus true happiness. So that means there is a possibility that what we believe that is happiness and what is true happiness could be totally different thing. And let's see what mystery unfolds for us in this term tomorrow at 9 p.m. Bye bye and take care.